Hey everybody, this is Chris Guthrie, and welcome to A High Level Conversation, a podcast of conversations with the people in the cannabis industry. In each episode, we'll talk to cannabis professionals that are doing cannabis every day, pushing this industry forward with the blood, sweat, tears, and brands that we know and love, and find out what the world looks like from where they are. Please enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is A High Level Conversation. I'm Chris Guthrie, and today I have I don't even know what to call you, Jerry. I'm just going to list off some of your qualifications real quick. I looked you up on the internet. It's a series of tubes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Some call you the Johnny Appleseed of CBD. Some call you a tech magnate. Some call you a serial entrepreneur. I know you are an organic farmer who supplied me with literally hundreds of gallons of worm castings. You're a hemp consultant. You are an elder of West Coast cannabis, the closest thing to a cannabis mentor that I will ever have, and just all around solid dude. Ladies and gentlemen, clap in your car for Jerry Whiting.
Hey, Chris. Thank you so much, my brother. Always a pleasure when I spend time face-to-face or across the interweb with you.
I know exactly what you look like, and I know exactly what your face is doing the whole time. I'm sorry for all of our listeners, but I am having a great mental picture of you right now.
You know, when I look back, Coleman and I bonded with your family back in the medical days 7 years ago. You were the first medical concern that we had a working relationship with, and we're still hanging out today.
Yeah, still hanging out. And, you know, not a lot of people made it through those medical days and through the transition. It was a hairy time, and a lot of the folks that we were with did not make it through. Their businesses did not make it through.
You know, but a lot of the individuals still pop up, and it's always fun to look across people at a meeting table or people in a crowd and go, oh, wait a second, you're not just anybody. We have history going back to when it was unregulated, a little wild, and definitely more loosey-goosey than the tightly regulated legal markets we work with today.
Okay, so do you find that the people were more or less dependable / honorable in the old days or the new days?
There are a certain number of people, no matter what industry, who are out to make money and not necessarily to do it the right way, honorably, ethically, or even legally. Mm-hmm. So there were people you didn't trust in the medical days because it was largely unregulated and word of mouth and quiet and on the down low. In the newly regulated cannabis and hemp markets, some of those snakes in the grass made the transition, but there's also a lot of legal money, Wall Street money, people who were not in the cannabis market or the medical market before that, who are now playing hardball with hemp. It's big business and big bucks.
Yeah.
So those are the ones I much prefer looking across 10 people and saying, I've known you for umpteen years, and I know you're homies, and we've done this, that, and the other together. I don't want to risk some newbie who may have ulterior motives and more money to outspend me and take advantage of the difference in the culture. There's a cultural difference between those who came from medical marijuana and the early rec and what I'm seeing now in hemp, because this is getting to be big business, and you don't have to listen to Dead, wear tie-dye, or go to Burning Man to be in the biz these days.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's different. I appreciate that. Hell, I read the Wall Street Journal. You know, I'm not an idiot, but, you know, it's different. So, yeah, there's people I trust and people I don't trust in hemp, in recreational cannabis.
So you are on your way right now to a hemp farm, right?
Yes.
So
the Johnny Appleseed of CBD. So I like collecting things. I've been collecting genetics for CBD-rich cannabis, and more recently hemp, and so I'm constructively OCD. I've just channeled that into collecting outliers, unique stuff, vintage heirloom, landrace, things that we don't know what to do with yet because the cannabis sativa L applications are many, wide, and varied.
Right.
So, yes, I'm off to a farm that is on the property of Puffin Farm, a 502 producer-processor that I work for, and they are allowing me to grow hemp alongside, not under the same fence, but on the same property, industrial hemp, less than 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight, and it is legal as of December 20th, when the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018, a.k.a. the Farm Bill, was signed by 45, the orange one. And now, boys and girls, thanks to the Republican from Kentucky in Congress, industrial hemp is legal. It is no longer Schedule 1, but Schedule 5. It's not the DEA, it's the FDA. And best of all, you won't go to jail, and you can sell it intrastate, interstate, and internationally.
Right.
So there has been a stampede by states to take advantage of this, allowing their farmers to grow industrial hemp summer of 2019. There are a few holdout states like South Dakota and, God forbid, Idaho. But by and large, like by my count, like 45 or 46 states allow farmers to grow industrial hemp and process it for CBD, for food, for oil, not CBD oil, but, cooking oil, eating oil, and a whole bunch of other things, hempcrete. But yeah, by and large, most people are going industrial hemp this summer for CBD.
Yeah, I was at a show in New York City a couple of months ago, and there was a gigantic company. Everything in their booth, from their like plastic Art Deco, new wave chairs, to the textiles covering their couches, the stuffing, the armature of the couch itself, all of their displays, all made from hemp. It was amazing. A carpet, the coffee tables, the glasses that were like all over the tables. It was impressive. Like if they actually did it and we're telling the truth that everything in that display, and this was like a 20 by 20 booth. It was gigantic.
Whoa.
Oh no, it was huge.
Impressive.
Very impressive.
Impressive. Yes. So here's my thought. Everyone is rushing after CBD. And if for no other reason, it's an easy sell. And that's all well and good. But what's really significant is that it's the association of hemp and marijuana is dissolving.
Yeah.
2/3 of Americans want cannabis legalized anyway. But now, farmers, Iowa, Nebraska, all people in the middle of the country are rushing to get on their tractor and grow acres and acres of hemp. Years ago, that was either ditchweed left over from hemp they tried to get rid of as it was a nuisance, or, my grandson smokes marijuana. I don't want to touch that stuff. Hand me a beer. But now, everyone can't wait to grow this thing. The good thing is it's going to turn people on to the other uses for hemp, be it hempcrete or a replacement for cotton or wood or paper and building materials, electronics, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, the race is on. Let's do this.
Oh, it's on. The market is filling up so fast. Like you were saying, like every single farmer, I hear it's hard to sell soybeans and corn these days.
The other thing about the good news for American farmers summer of 2019, the same guy who signed the Farm Bill into law December 20th last year is the same one who's screwing with his base in the heartland. We're trying to sell corn, soybeans, and other crops to China, let's say. But there's a whole lot of uncertainty, not just around the floods and weather in the heartland this summer, this spring, but, China's not buying stuff from American farmers like they used to.
No.
And it's not that small farmers were doing well to begin with. But it brings up another thing. So not only are people growing hemp in small plots, when people get on tractors and grow acres and acres of it, it's now a bulk agricultural commodity.
Right.
It may not show up on the Chicago Board of Trade yet, but when farmers start growing it by the tractor load, it's pretty much a lateral shift over to wheat, soybean, sugar beets, cotton, everything else. The only difference is after 70, 75 years of prohibition, 4-H doesn't prepare the kids, your county extension agent doesn't know shit, and, seeds and fertilizer, how do I grow this? People are figuring it out.
Yeah.
But that's what's really exciting, that it sort of puts small farmers on some sort of parity with the big boys for now. Because no one, Monsanto Bayer or Dreyfus or, Cargill, none of these big guys have the seeds or the know-how, and it's an advantage that people who come from cannabis have.
Yeah.
Many of these new hemp farmers have never seen a pod plant.
Oh, no. Last season was full of stories of people, expecting this windfall from their hemp. And they're like, what do you mean it's got 5% THC? Is that bad?
Oh, yeah. Or the other thing is, so farmers have farms and they have outbuildings on those farms, outbuildings specific to the crops and livestock that are the farm. Unless you have a tobacco farm with a drying shed, you have no way to dry what you've grown.
No
And the problem
kidding.
is the more you grow, the harder it is to dry.
Yeah.
And you guys did a really good job both growing, drying, curing, and storing cannabis indoors in the old days. Can you imagine scaling that up to 20, 30, 40 acres?
I have no idea what that much hemp even looks like.
I do, and I saw and walked away from 6.5 tons in Wisconsin, sitting in fabric totes on a cement loading dock under a roof in an open-air building in November, December in Wisconsin. Burst the cells, and it molded from the inside. I have looked at 6.5 tons of industrial hemp. We walked away from it. It was like, I'm sorry, this is all bad. You blew it. See you next year. So that's part of the problem. So, so for those who don't know much about cultivating cannabis, unlike lettuce or spinach where you cut it and you're ready to sell it, you have to cut the flowers off the plant carefully, dry them, and then pull the rest of the water out by curing it. You can't just have the outside dry. There's this whole thing about progressively pulling the moisture from the stem to the outside.
Yep.
The rule of thumb is you need 30% of the area that you grew to dry it single layer. You can stack it up, with ropes and pulleys 3 tall in the ceiling. But really, if you grow an acre, you need 1/3 of an acre of drying space.
Is that the ratio? 3 to 1?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you tell me. You guys used to do it. You had a great operation. What was your ratio?
Well, we made sure that we were never pulling down more than 4 tables or 40 plants at a time, and then we wouldn't wet trim, but we would break that plant down into 1 inch or 1 foot stalks.
So 40 plants. How much floor space did it take to dry 40 plants?
Well, we had a room that was roughly 8 by 10, and we got
80 square.
And we got clothing racks.
2 to 1 ratio. So it's 2 square feet for every plant. You know how many hemp plants there are in an acre?
Oh my God.
2,400 planted 5 feet on center. You scale that math up, you're screwed unless you planned ahead to dry, cure, and store your harvest. Now, if you're smart, you grow different cultivars with staggered flower times, so stuff moves through your finite capacity in waves. Either way, you can, just because you own the land and you have a tractor, doesn't mean you should plant every acre you got until you can do the whole workflow.
Right.
And I hope people out there, before they fire up the tractor again, stop, because I tell people, hey, look, figure out what you can dry, cure, and store, add 10% in case you get lucky, and stop. And it's a learning curve, too. Because, the reason people have 4-H, you need to learn before you go out and try and make a livelihood off of it. No one's done this before except pot growers.
But I thought...
That's why Colorado and Oregon have got this head start on everybody else.
Right. A massive head start. Because, like with anything, people don't know what they don't know. And this stigma around cannabis users being dim or slow or somehow... or like somehow their brains have been corroded by the devil's lettuce. I mean...
just say it because stoners are losers. That's
right.
what the perception is. Yeah.
Right, because stoners are losers. And if that stoner can do it, I can do it too. Oh, no. Like the hubris that's on display in some areas is pretty staggering. This episode of A High Level Conversation is brought to you by Zebra Technologies, a leading provider of hardware and services for the cannabis industry. With cannabis being added to everything from food to beauty products, chain of custody is a critical factor. Trust Zebra and Delta 9 Systems to track the inventory and movement of products from point of cultivation to point of sale.
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of the states that now have legal hemp cultivation have never had legal cannabis cultivation. So you might be a blue ribbon, award-winning, state fair kind of stellar farmer for fill in the crop. You've never seen pot, let alone hell. You bought regular seeds because you don't understand what feminized is. Now you got to walk through and pull out the male. What's the male plant? What are you talking about? Oh, this ain't corn, buddy.
Right.
Or the whole idea of, so you have variation because the seeds you bought aren't uniform genetically. How you can go through a field and by smell tell which ones are the winners and which ones you should just ignore. To us, it's second nature.
Oh, how about trying to pick winners for terpene profile based on just the stem rub? How about that? You think they can do that?
Oh yeah. Or to brush up against the third set of leaves and get just a wisp of what lies ahead. Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Oh, and when to hold them, when to fold them. The whole idea is that you don't go over 0.3% Delta 9 THC. And CBD matures earlier than THC. So you're a farmer, you're liberal, you're not, it's not devil's lettuce to you. You tried it when you were a kid. Now you've got, high schoolers yourself you're chasing around. To know that when you look on the internet about how to grow cannabis, it's for THC. And that 15% of the trichome turning amber and all that crap, that's for THC.
Right.
CBD is already matured by then, and you're probably hot. You're probably over 0.3, but you don't know that because you're looking at the internet not realizing, oh, this is different, and here's the delta between what everyone says online about growing it and what the real world is for hemp for CBD.
Jerry,
sorry guys,
have I showed you the Purple Pro yet?
No. Oh, I saw the picture online.
Yes. Okay. So that is complete portable and mobile potency testing. It's accurate to 1.5%. So it won't tell you if you are below 0.2, but if it will tell you if you are 2% or below.
Yeah, there's another one too. Not orange light, orange photon or something.
Orange photon. That one's 15K. It requires other solvents and complete
the consumables.
Yeah, all the consumables. No, the Purple is $1,500, unlimited THC and CBD testing, as long as you've got a USB power source.
No kidding.
No kidding.
So here you go, folks. These are the tools that are coming on, and there's a vacuum. It's not just the 4-H, county extension agent knowledge vacuum, but there are very few tools for testing, as Chris and I have just talked about, but also harvesting. No John Deere attachment specific to harvesting hemp flowers.
Oh God, have you seen farmers trying to do where's the machinery for hemp? It's here.
Yes, there is some, but it's like the stuff out of Canada is like huge. They bring these monster machines onto your property, but if you're trying to process, 5 to 20 acres, that's a sweet spot, but it's hard. So there's another rule of thumb, true or not, that if you're doing hemp cultivation to be processed, moving it more than 100 miles, the logistics eats into your profit margin. So if you grow it in Montana or Wyoming because you own a big chunk of ranch land, where are you going to take it or how are you going to get it processed? I'm sure there are very few Eden CO2 machines in Montana. If nothing else, farmers are creative and they're hungry, literally and figuratively, and there is money on the table, especially since export of standard agricultural crops this year is dicey at best with no resolution in sight.
Right. No resolution.
It's going to be terrifying for a family farm. Terrifying.
I fed my family for a couple years as a farmer. Now I was an indoor cannabis farmer, but there are some things that translate. Things that you cannot control wipe out your crop.
Yes.
Acts of nature. In my case, I was always worried that the power was going to go out.
Oh, yes.
You get problems with your water. You get, some sort of infestation. Like farming problems, raising plants, they are the same problems. We never had to deal with regulation, like government regulation. Like, who could have seen a tariff coming? Who could have, how do you plan for that? And how do you plan for that for your 5-year plan? Like, I don't get that. Okay. Last thing before I let you go.
Yes, sir.
Tell me I got a email from some cannabis website the other day about the great CBD isolate price crash of 2019.
Oh, yes.
Tell me what that was like from your point of view.
So people have two general approaches to industrial hemp grown and processed for CBD. Because the folks, I'm closely aligned, shall we say, with Project CBD. Mm-hmm. And the parlance there is the power couple, THC and CBD. Because THC is Schedule 1, it's not as widespread and it's not as free a market as CBD, which now is a national ag product. Because people understand CBD, they think, Sanjay Gupta's show and Charlotte's Web and Kids with Seizures.
Right.
People focused on that one chemical, cannabidiol, at the exclusion of everything else in the plant. Partly because it was legal to do so. If there was no THC in the plant or in the product that you made, you were freer to sell it. The problem is, cannabis sativa L, drug cultivars, hemp, everything in between, makes dozens of chemicals, 75 to 100 cannabinoids, a couple hundred terpenes, flavonoids, all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. Together, it creates what is called the entourage effect.
Right.
This synergetic interaction between all of these wonderful things. And some people go for what's called whole plant or full spectrum preparation that pull all of this stuff out of the plant.
Yeah.
Other people take what I call reductionist chemical or reductionist chemistry approach. If I strip out everything except the CBD and get 99.9% pure CBD, I can put that into, cornflakes and air conditioner and toilet paper and kitty litter and everything else. And the problem is the medicine doesn't get better the more CBD and CBD alone you add.
No.
And in fact, Dr. Ethan Russo talks about the more you add, the less effective every incremental amount is.
Right.
So, but what it gave rise to was this market of chemists who made isolate or distillate where they pulled out everything except the CBD and offered a relatively pure product that people use to add to coconut oil, MCT, or alcohol, and you make a tincture where you put it in a lotion or a topical, what have you. For a while, not many people did it, and it was sort of a rare commodity, and it was, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 more a pound. Now the price is falling because everyone and their sister is, cooking up this stuff, and there's only so much the market can bear.
Yeah.
Coupled with the fact there's a lot of hemp in the channel. Let's talk about the global supply chain. While hemp is a new entrance into this, hemp and cannabis, neither one of them is magic. They are not unicorns shitting gold nuggets under the rainbow. The flip side is neither hemp nor cannabis can violate Econ 101. It's a commodity, there's a marketplace, there's market forces at work, supply, demand, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So now we have an oversupply of isolate and distillate compared to the demand. But if you can go buy biomass, as they call it, we used to call it popcorn and trim. There's flour, but it's not leaf, but it's not primo.
Right.
If you can buy that for $35 a pound, you can make whatever you want yourself. You don't have to necessarily use isolate or distillate, and you'll get better effects.
Much better.
So, yes, I think to many people's surprise, what was easy money 6 months ago, 9 months ago, is now stagnant. It's a stalled market. But again, it only proves my point that neither hemp nor cannabis will violate the rules of the marketplace. And the market says, no, the supply is greater than the demand. The response is the price goes.
Right.
Lower.
Right.
Lower. So it's not a race to the bottom, but we see it in cannabis. Look at Oregon. We see it in hemp. Here we are, the middle of August 2019. I'm here to tell you there are thousands and thousands of pounds of 2018 harvest in the channel. I heard yesterday they're cutting hemp in Oregon already. So there'll be fresh, new harvest in the market up against last year's harvest. Says to me, the demand didn't suck everything out of 2018's crop. That means that the price for biomass is going to drop. Why? Because that's how the market works.
Are you worried that these market forces, the overzealous production and like the totally hands-off approach to regulation and any sort of forward thought about what this market was going to do, like there's going to be a bloodbath here pretty soon? I mean, like you said, it's only August. We're not even near October when like traditional harvest is. Like, what's going to happen? Is hemp about to be like the ruiner of already stagnant and troubled farms? Are we going to have to fight that stigma too of like getting people's hopes up only to dash them on the proverbial hemp-derived rocks?
Boy, that sounds grim. So here's the motto. So one of the things that LeBlanc C&E does, besides grow our own hemp, is that we broker. We buy and sell on behalf of other people.
Right.
The in-house whisper going into Harvest 2019 is there are going to be so many new farmers who are so eager they're going to grow lots and lots of poor, subpar hemp. We're going to have great success buying other people's failures.
Gotcha.
Because the market's going to be flooded. So when it was Oregon and Colorado that dominated the last few years, last 3 years, 4 years, the quality was high because they were early on, early adopters, and there were people who grew cannabis who moved into hemp. They knew what they were doing from the first harvest. And there were people breeding there that, of course, whatever they bred in Colorado or Oregon grew well in Colorado or Oregon, and things got better and better. Well, there are people all over the country who are trying their hand at it, and they'll have, let's say when I drove through Wisconsin looking at half dozen, 7 farms worth of stuff, arguably what was presented to us is the best of what Wisconsin grew their first year. Chris, it looked like what kids grew in their dorm room sophomore year. You got to college, you could get stoned without mom and dad watching. You realize, why buy it if I can grow it myself?
Right.
And so you took a chance. You tried to grow some, and it was, it was yours. You were proud of it.
And you loved it intensely in only the way that you can love an ugly child can. Oh, I grew some terrible weed in college, man. Oh boy.
Oh, so as the market will correct itself.
Yeah.
The people who were dedicated to this will come back. There's a learning curve. I'm working with a number of black hemp farmers in the Carolinas. They know each other. I'm sending out to a number of partner farms. They're forward contracts, not future. Emails every few weeks. Well, the last one was, okay, so here we are the first week in August. Start looking for the boys if you planted regular seeds who flower before the girls. Here's what to look for. Here's some videos. Here's some links to make it real. And, by the way, start thinking about how you're going to dry and harvest this stuff.
Yes. Oh, God.
We'll talk more about that the next email out. But what I'm finding is these farmers are journaling, taking photos, and sharing among themselves, which lessens the risk of failure because a high tide lifts all boats. And they're going into this, and now they're finding people in other states, as far afield as Louisiana.
Cool.
So I'm going out to the southeast. I'm going to go below the Mason-Dixon. I'm going to go see what sisters and brothers are growing on these family farms in a completely different terroir than Cascadia here in Washington State.
Oh, yeah. Just the temperature in the soil is going to change the plant so much.
But they're all growing the same stuff from me. And so when they share notes, even though they may be, the ones in South Carolina are like within a 4-hour driving radius. But some are coastal, some are inland. But in the end, when there's a storm front that moves through, y'all get wet.
Right.
If there's a drought or a swarm of locusts, y'all get hit up. But for me, having partner farms in different states, it lessens the risk of failure because we may get fire and smoke damage out here, but it's not an issue in North Carolina, let's say.
Gotcha.
So. Yeah, people are going to learn. People will learn the matchup between genotype, between strain, between cultivar, and their terroir, where their soil, the soil, water, and sunlight. The photo period is different in the South compared to Washington State. So yeah, it's fun.
How lucky are these farmers that they have a man of your caliber to aid them? You're not even helping me grow hemp, and I'm just like, I'm a better dude for knowing you, man. I just want to tell you that.
Well, thanks. And you said in the beginning you didn't know how to describe me. I'd say like brother from another mother.
I feel that. I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, This is my great friend, Jerry Whiting. He is the president and operator of LeBlanc C&E. Do you have a website that you want to send anybody to, Jerry?
Yeah, so LeBlanc C&E. My last name is Whiting, and LeBlanc is Whiting in French. That's LeBlanc C&E. So LeBlancCE.com. I write a column for Northwest Leaf magazine, and if you look on the website, you'll see all the monthly columns linked as PDF files. I definitely have an opinion and a lot to say about hemp. I encourage you to go binge read it. It's pretty funny. And I appreciate the opportunity to share this time with you, Chris.
We are not done by a long shot, my friend. We haven't even scratched the surface of all the things. I still need to talk to you about how people are labeling and putting hemp into like a chain of custody. When somebody comes up with a full spectrum, how do they know where it came from and how to do it again? But that's for another time.
And a link to on one hand, as a consumer, I want to see your lab results.
Yes.
Is there
oh my God.
a QR barcode that I can scan on the product and look at the lab numbers? People do read the nutritional information on the side of even junk food. Consumers of pharmaceuticals get to read the fine print that comes in the package that the lawyers wrote. I do believe that consumers deserve the same transparency about the products that they buy. Just because it's a new market doesn't mean we should pass through the same eye of the needle. It's education. It gives confidence and educates the end user.
For sure.
So yeah, we can definitely talk about, and I have the whole idea about how hemp is going to enter the agricultural ecosystem, all the way from seed companies. It's going to impact, a lot of people are going to switch to organic farming methods because hemp the hemp marketplace demands it.
Yeah.
It's not legal, but people like me, brokers, say, show me the pesticides and heavy metals. Oh, wait, there's traces of Roundup from what you used last year. You didn't use it this year, but the metabolite's still in the soil. Sorry, I'll pass.
Oh, God, we need to do a whole podcast about what hemp does for soil.
Oh, phytoremediation. Oh, we're on. Well, so yeah, I encourage you to come to LeBlancCND.com. There's white papers, there's videos. Yeah, so it's been a pleasure, pal.
Always a pleasure. I love you so much. I'll talk to you here pretty soon when we don't have all three of these people listening to us. It's more than three people.
All right, till next time.
Love you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right, love you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Jerry Whiting. This is a high-level conversation. Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. This show is brought to you by Delta 9 Systems, a division of General Data Company. Delta 9 Systems is a team of cannabis manufacturing and labeling experts that advise and supply cannabis professionals like you with the technology required to compete in this challenging and very rewarding industry. Go to www.delta9systems.com to see the gear we have for you and talk to us. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.